Shalom. Kol halalim la Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles, elders. Double honors to the apostles, elders, elder bishops of Great Millstone. And a hearty shalom to the prophets of that body. And shalom to the 144,001 third. May peace and blessings be upon you and the spirit of endurance as we approach the end. And peace and blessings to your households and our households. Okay, those of us are part of the hopeful elect, Lord willing. We can make it through. Because we're coming into some real serious times. We got nevertheless this video by WION. I believe they're an Indian-based, or what you call an Elamite-based news company or a media organization, and they, especially in the East, they usually spit the truth. And for the most part, as far as I know, they're not usually under that umbrella where you got other newscasters that are in the Western world that all follow the same agenda and the same sort of hymn sheet in terms of saying the same things because they're told to do. All right. But nevertheless, either way, even if these guys are part of it, the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashim Yeshai is compelling them to spit the truth to a certain degree. Okay. You got Esau, Edom, and the likes of Trump and his cohorts and people like him that try and knock down museums and give you so-called Black History Month in just the month of February. But very rarely do they touch on what happened to our Northern Kingdom brothers. You might seldom see that in a movie, or our apostles and elders bring out the truth, and we find out that, our Northern Kingdom brothers went through the same thing, obviously because Judah and Israel were oppressed together, and I'm loosely paraphrasing a scripture, and that land was ground zero Babylon, America. But nevertheless, even though these damn devils try and brush the truth underneath the rug about slavery, and hence the reason why Gen Z are quite, the word is retarded. They're slow, and loosely paraphrasing a scripture, menstruous women shall bring forth monsters. And these women today, they are not right in the head, and the men are not in the household, and they're not right in the head. Deuteronomy verse 54, the man will leave the woman, right? And there'll be black on black, Latino on Latino, native on native crime, etc., Jake on Jake. And these women that are bringing forth these children, they're not right in the head. They're not giving them any kind of spiritual game or worldly or game how to operate in this world, because you're supposed to bring up your children according to the scriptures if you're blessed enough to be in this truth, right? But nevertheless, they don't know about slavery. They're okay with their Edomite friends hanging around with them, calling them the N-word. Hey, what's up, my N-word? What's up, my N-word? Kind of like Tom Hanks' son, that prick. If you remember him quite a few years ago, he was saying the N-word to a Jake, and Jake had to correct him and say, listen, man, just because you sing R&B or you try to be an R&B singer doesn't mean you can throw the N-word around. Tom Hanks' son had a Caesar. I think he's trying to be like an Ephraimite with the same Ephraimite haircut, like a Caesar, and thought he was down. Yeah, but nevertheless, I'm going to a bit of a tangent here. But these devils try and knock down museums, try and rewrite history, take out meanings of definitions of words and what's going on in the world, and how, what happened to the Israelite man, woman, and child, the so-called black man, Hispanic man, Native Indian man, what happened to the Israelites? They try and hide it under the rugs, but the powers that be and the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem Yashai is compelling these devils to spit the truth. Now, before I play the video, I'm just going to read a scripture. All right. Okay. Even though most of these scriptures are about us and for us, but they can be applied to the heathen as well. And some scriptures are for the heathen. Okay. But, let's just go to Jeremiah 13, verse 26 first. All right. Therefore will I discover thy skirts upon thy face, that thy shame may appear. All right. The so-called white man, Esau, Edom, tries to be holier than thou. They try to tell people around the world that this is how you should treat your, the people in your country, right? Talk about what's the word? The human condition and how to treat the local population, how to be so-called nice to them, right? They try and tell people, they try to be, an Edomite Debo, you know, telling people what to do when really they're the biggest scum on the earth. And that's why a lot of these other countries are saying to them, you can't tell us what to do. Look how you treat the so-called black man, okay? The Hispanic man, the Native Indian man. Even people during the Vietnam War, right? And other wars, probably Korean War and other wars prior to that. There were, you had the Vietnamese saying to Jake, the blacks, Hispanics, and natives, saying, soul brother, why are you here? This is not your fight. Why are you here? They were saying to them, go back, man. What are you here for? Bruv, why are you here for? Why are you fighting the so-called white man's war? Why are you here for? Right? They said, why are you here for? Everybody knows the plight of the so-called black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man. All right? They know. And they know what Esau Edom has done. All right? Esau Edom tries to hide it, brush it under a rug. But Yahweh Shemashai said that, your shame is going to appear. All right? You trying to be holier than thou. You try and paint yourself, pursuant to the book of Maccabees. I think it's First Maccabees 3:48. They're painted the likeness of their images. All right? They try and whitewash everything. They're trying to make themselves the Most High, Yahweh Shai. They're trying to make themselves King David, King Solomon. They try to make themselves everybody under the sun. The last samurai, the last Mohican, right? Everybody, the American ninja, right? They're trying to be everybody, but they don't want to be Esau Edom, okay? Is it First Maccabees? Let me just, I'm just going to Google it quickly, just make sure I quoted it correctly, because the last thing I want to do is First Maccabees 3:48. Lord willing, that's the right one. It's First Maccabees 3:48. All right, where the heathen laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images, so-called whitewashing. Right. So now the truth is coming out. You got Putin bringing out the truth, who the Israelites are, what the Messiah looks, what the Most High and the Messiah looks like, etc., etc., etc. So the truth is coming out. But you got a lot of deniers out there, a lot of AI demons that try and sort of, trip people up when they're in the truth, try and take away what's that, Satan try and taketh away, like someone, a prophet's trying to speak to you, give you the truth, and here comes Satan right behind, try and take away the truth. All right, like you see a lot of our brothers when they're teaching our elders on down, and you got some scumbag cracker or even 2/3 Jake try and take away from the truth. All right, okay. Let me just actually. Yes, let me read Jeremiah 16:19 as well. O Lord, Yahweh Bashem Yashai, my strength and my fortress and my refuge in the day of affliction. The Gentiles shall come unto thee from the ends of the earth and shall say, surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. All right? It's all lies, man, these devils have given. Okay? They're living in a lie. All right? They actually think, some of these Edomites, even to this day, they actually believe that the Messiah looks like them. Why would the Most High make his only begotten son a leper, or a clean leper? All right, in the book of Leviticus, chapter 13, it lets you know that having, a skin like Edomite is unclean. Having yellow hair is unclean. It's a curse. So you think the Lord Almighty in heaven, Yahweh, is going to make his son Yahweh Shai a damn devil? Huh? Or look like a devil? Or be unclean? You guys are bugging out. Anyway, let's see what this what WION says.
Are pushing for an international resolution that could label the transatlantic slave trade as the greatest crime against humanity in history, and they are preparing to put Britain's role directly under the spotlight. Ghana is expected to introduce the resolution at the United Nations later this month on behalf of the African Union. This proposal seeks formal recognition of the European-led transatlantic slave trade as a historic crime of unprecedented scale, pointing to its vast human toll and its long-lasting economic and social consequences. According to the UN, the transatlantic slave trade lasted over 4 centuries. Around 50 million Africans, including men, women, and children, were forcibly transported across the Atlantic, with the largest number sent to Brazil and other parts of the Americas. African leaders say that the scale, duration, and enduring impact of the trade justify calling it history's greatest crime against humanity. The African Union is also pressing for reparations from the EU countries, claiming that the legacy of slavery contributed to the economic gap between Western nations and much of the developing world. African diplomats are now lobbying countries across the globe ahead of a vote scheduled for the 25th of March. The day is also marked as the International Day of Remembrance of the victims of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. Ghana's move has reportedly secured the backing from Caribbean countries as well and many African states, while additional support is reportedly being sought from developing countries and non-aligned nations. If passed, this resolution is likely to bring about a global conversation about history, slavery, and justice, with Britain's past firmly under the microscope.
Yeah, not just Britain, America too. Okay, America's under in the firing line as well. Most of Europe, most of the Edomite strongholds. Okay, all right. I'm gonna loosely paraphrase the scripture. I'm gonna put it in there as well. Revelation 39 verse 10. Okay, he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. And you devils are gonna drink double. Okay, your time is coming up. All right, you're going to go into hardcore slavery under the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, and it's going to happen very soon. All right, it's going to happen very soon. All right, you're not going to live like the Jetsons in a futuristic world in Babylon. All right, you're not going to have all that. This kingdom is done. All right, Brakti Yahweh, Brakti Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakak Badash, Moatha Bad Babal, Kwam Yashrala, Shalom.